I just thought I'll try and go short on this fourth one or third one. I'm going to title this Corpus Christi, Texas, rated the least most drug prescription abused city since the Roman Empire, yet decided to sue the drug pharmaceutical companies purely for cash. Do you know, let me give you an example. And I honestly believe, one of my street friends, Levi, who I've not seen him in a while, and Levi's smart. Look, a lot of my friends are smart. But I told Levi one day, a few months ago, I said, you know, another friend of mine, I said, he kind of looked into the opioid epidemic, the problem with drugs, meth, and so forth. And look, I deal with a lot of friends in the street that have drug problems. And I said, one of my friends said once, if they could just legally prescribe methamphetamine, that it would probably have beneficial purposes. Now look, I'm drug-free and I'm alcohol-free. I'm on no prescriptions. And then my friend Levi said, John, and he mentioned the name of one or two drugs that are basically prescriptions that helped people. And he said, John, methamphetamine is a legal prescription drug under a certain name. And then he gave me an example that I was not familiar with, but I believe it was true. He said, I think he even said the Kohler Times did an article on it. But he said, John, there was a man living in Corpus Christi for many years. He was homeless, like living under the underpasses, and he was an addict. And they said, but for many years, he could not get a prescription in the city of Corpus Christi. He said, finally, somehow he got diagnosed, and they gave him a prescription. And they said, that man, I think they did an article, he said, about him, and he's now doing very well. And it was an interesting example because I was not aware of it. And as I'm thinking today, I've had multiple people tell me over the years, some people have actually said to me, John, take your meds. And you know what I've told those people? I said, I cannot get meds. They said, some of my friends that have seen me kind of like, I'm still walking. Now this is 5 years later. I'm still nonstop. I didn't think we'd talk about all this today. And I actually told some of my friends who kind of said to me, John, you got the symptoms of PTSD, bipolar, and everything else. I cannot get a prescription in the city of Corpus Christi. Okay? And that's when I realized, some of my friends told me, the city of Corpus Christi, this is what's upsetting me about this whole lawsuit, is one of the most difficult cities to get a legitimate prescription for an opioid in any city in this US of A. They said it was very tough, that most of the doctors will not even give a prescription, the example of Levi's friend, if you will. And there are other cities across this country who are not suing the pharmaceutical companies, and those are considered, I've seen documentaries on these things, they're like pill centers, prescriptions, and then it's making me wonder whether the fact that Corpus is probably rated the least city that should ever sue drug companies because of prescription opioids, Corpus is probably the least one. From my own personal experience, 5 years later, still walking nonstop and driving all over the fucking country. And I could not get a prescription in your city, in your wonderful city. And my friends on the street said, it's one of the toughest in the country to get a legal prescription. That's your record. And before you jump on the bandwagon to get cash, you should have at least looked at something like that. What a disgrace. Money grubbing. You've shown yourselves leadership of that city. to be just as bad as the people that would go to a Thomas Henry because they faked a fall in a Walmart. That's what you've shown your leadership of that city, by doing something so disgraceful. And I believe the fact that it's one of the toughest cities to get a legal prescription for opioid since the Roman Empire, that's probably that's contributing to the fact of illegal drug use in Corpus Christi. I don't believe the problems of drugs and drug use on the streets of Corpus Christi has anything to do with the drug companies. I think it's people that in other cities and localities who would get a legal prescription for a legitimate use of an opioid. It's so difficult in Corpus Christi that many of these people are self-medicating because of that. That's really what your history is, and I'm giving you for an example. And I get the VA sometimes, I never answer the phone, but sometimes I notice that they call my phone because that's my health insurance. And I always think, why are they calling me? I don't go, and I'm grateful I have it. But maybe they're trying to say, we want you to know, John, in any normal part of this country, people like you would be able to get a prescription for something, for bipolar, for PTSD, for all of these things. But we just want you to know that Corpus Christi is the least abused city in the US of A for illegal prescription opioids. And what a disgrace that you're one of the few that are suing for cash.